Hello and welcome to the next episode of When Tomorrow Comes. I'm Charlotte Orrell, Senior Futures Consultant in the iCini Futures team, and the topic of choice this week is something I'm personally quite interested about, and that's the use of modern methods of construction, mouthful there, and specifically how they've taken a bit more limelight during the pandemic. Joining me today are a couple of my colleagues from the planning team, Paul and Isabel. Hello to you both.
Hello.
And in addition to the iCini contingency, I'm lucky enough to be joined by Lee Hawkins, project manager at Greystar, who I believe has witnessed firsthand the benefits of an MMC build. Hello, Lee, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi guys, glad to be here. Thank you.
So, Paul, as the author of this week's email, do you mind starting us off with a summary of your article and the key points that arose?
Yeah, sure. So the article is basically, like you said, trying to shine a light on the benefits of MMCs that have come about in the times of the pandemic. Obviously, there's many benefits to them that have been there for many years and people have spoken about. But it's really showing that the speed of delivery as one element, being how they can be helpful, particularly with things like the Nightingale hospitals, and there's also been emergency housing come together in very short timescales. And then it's seeing how that can be carried across into the more sort of traditional residential types, whether flats or normal housing, basically.
Thank you. And Lee, I'm going to come over to you for your first initial thoughts. I don't know if you want to give a bit of background on your MMC experience today and some initial comments from what you've seen from Paul's article.
Yes, so like you say, I work for Greystar, look after project management for Greystar. I've been there for nearly 5 years, and to date we've delivered 5 key buildings, circa 10,000 modules, through our construction partner type construction across a number of schemes between purpose-built student accommodation and our multi-family build-to-rent product. Primarily our experience of this came from acquisition initially, but we quickly saw the benefits that Paul mentioned at the beginning with regard to ultimately speed of construction being a very important aspect with a build-to-rent product, and the ability to obviously turn the units more quickly and obviously receive our income more quickly. But clearly the other most important benefits are design flexibility, quality, and the environmental benefits we get from a reduced presence on site, reduced quantity of material being brought to and from site and to one fixed location, factory, the efficiency of working in a factory environment, and the efficiency of use of materials. So all of that brought together, really, we saw the benefits of that, like I say, early on, and modular construction will continue as a key part of our delivery strategy going forward as a business.
Great. I thought Isabel was about to jump in then. I was just going to ask, obviously, there are a number of constraints behind it, which people do always have a habit of bringing up. And I was wondering what your biggest barrier that you might face when deciding on an MMC project, and maybe if Isabel or Paul can come off the back of that and sort of talk about it in a planning sense and what issues you come across during the planning process for an MMC build. Lee, do you want to start first?
Yeah, I think we found the planning journey actually was benefited by selling the story of an off-site construction, particularly the ability to standardise the design, achieve the standards that the local authority were looking for us to achieve in design, but predominantly as well, like I said earlier, the ability to reduce those trips to site, the number of people on site, the benefit that brings to the community. And because of the speed of construction and the fact that so much of the work is coming to site, pre-assembled, pre-finished, that placemaking ability, that the quicker delivery of a place compared to a traditional build, reduced disruption, particularly where we're keen to phase the opening of our buildings to get first units in those buildings as quickly as possible. So we do deliver it does deliver a better environment for residents, for the public, because obviously public space is a key part of what we're doing here, not just the buildings themselves. So I think that played well in discussions with GLA and with local authority, and I think just generally as far as our journey with this and why, like I said, it will always play a part of our strategy going forward, and the fact we've now got the experience is the fact that it accommodates our design, and it accommodates our requirements as far as delivering a more sustainable product as well.
Jump in and talk about your experience. I know you've worked on quite a few of the Grey Star projects to date, and what your experiences of taking that through a planning system.
Yeah, I mean, so the one I've worked on is the Greenford scheme that Paul mentioned in the article, and so the building there that's been completed is Block 5, as Lee will know, and it's been delivered as modular construction. It was able to be built far quicker than it would have done under traditional methods. But yeah, and as sort of just to reiterate the points that Lee's made, it was key to establish those benefits with the council and the GLA, obviously, those being like the speed of delivery of just housing and the affordable as well, and the fact that Greenford is such a large site, so it's 2,000 or over 2,000 homes in total. Obviously, one of the key parts of that is the place, and the shops and the services and everything it's able to deliver, and obviously delivering it through modular has enabled that to come online much quicker.
I think one thing you've both perhaps picked up on is the scale of some of these developments. And I know some manufacturers are concerned about the number of homes and the variety of different designs, and when it becomes cost effective to use MMC. Obviously, there's a variety of MMC products. But do you think at the moment a bit of a barrier in the UK is the fact we need a standardisation? And at the moment, we don't necessarily have that. I'm not sure if that is one for Lee or Paul. Isabel, you want to jump in? Lee, what's your experience?
I'll take that first. Our experience with modular design, and particularly with tied construction, is there isn't any design barrier that they can't resolve a design challenge for us. They've accommodated our typology for apartment design without much compromise. So we've not seen design and standardization as an absolute requirement, even though I think a degree of that is always going to benefit modular construction with the ability to keep control of cost and ultimately program. But our experience, particularly at Greenford and across other developments, is the modular construction has delivered the flexibility that we wanted in design. I think there's more players coming into the marketplace now with a similar approach. Tide probably have kind of led that in recent years, but other players are coming up to the mark now. And actually, the more players in the marketplace with the ability to, yes, clearly they want to accommodate as much standardization as they can, but the more players there are that can accommodate developers such as us, our requirements, I think there'll be more uptake of this going forward, certainly to as we'll they'll come onto this conversation, to tick quite a few boxes with respect to, for instance, the ability of this method of construction to have actually performed well during the pandemic.
Paul, I'm just going to quickly come over to you. I don't know if you've got any of your own experience into how, let's say, local authorities attack sort of an MMC build, and whether you have approached the application or going to committee very differently, or you have any case studies or something like that. Because I know it can vary sort of local authority to local authority based on experience.
Inevitably, yeah, it will be different per authority. I'll fully admit that Isabel's probably better placed to discuss those factors, but I'll just add on a bit to what Lee was talking about with the standardisation and design. I've heard it mooted that hopefully MMCs could be helpful with design codes coming through, because of course if they're looking for you to meet very strict codes and standards, then knowing that it's off the shelf and it's ready to go can help in that factor. So it may be that they actually become a benefit in the standardisation, but also being able to offer flexibility in design down the line as well.
Sorry to jump in there, Paul. I think the key thing as it relates to design, and hopefully you'll see this in conversations with other, consultants, other manufacturers, is for us it's the speed of design and the decision-making process that are key to this, particularly as we've always seen our experience with MMC, which has principally been volumetric modular construction rather than any other flat pack or any other approach as it can be called. But we see that there's two projects running in parallel. There's an on-site project which could account for up to 50% of the build, and there's an off-site project. They're running in parallel, and both have to be fed with the correct design information at the correct point in time, and the upfront design effort required to feed the modular, the MMC element, is obviously going to have to be advanced beyond what would be required for a traditional scheme. So really for us, that's where the effort and the focus is required, not necessarily around standardisation, although like I said, I think that will benefit the industry going forward. And and Greystar will be looking into further routes to standardisation as we move forward as a developer in this country. But I think it's creating what I call, other people have termed this phrase, it could create a modular mindset, which is about understanding that process, understanding that two-project approach, on-site and off-site, and setting the team up, everyone, planning consultant, design consultants, all of the contractor and so on and so forth, to be able to deliver the requirements of that when it needs to be delivered.
And why is it, Lee, that you've chosen modular over other MMC products?
I think, like I say, ultimately, our first experience of this came from acquisition and building a relationship with Tide, and then, like I said, we saw the benefits of that. And Greenford Key, as it's now called, was originally developed to be a traditional scheme. And then we saw that there was a real benefit to us as an investment to make the blocks that we control, the build to rent blocks, deliver them in a modular fashion to derive the program and obviously the investment benefit from that. So ultimately that came from a long process of convincing investors it was the right thing to do, convincing ourselves, doing the right level of due diligence with Tide, which came from those other acquisitions before that project.
No, I think that's great. The amount of applications and designs that I've seen go the other way, get designed as a modular or variety of MMC, and then end up as a traditional build. It's quite disappointing when it goes that way around. Less aspirational. This is what I'm going to put back to the planners, which just made me think, Paul, as you were talking about design codes. But do you think there's going to be opportunities now going forward with the white paper and the commentary coming out from the government to really get MMC sort of foundation of it within our planning policy going forward? Who would like to take that one? Who's going to jump at it?
Well, I've seen that the government would like to, or are putting it in for their affordable homes fund. I think it's 20% of homes built through that have to be via MMCs. So the government clearly have an appetite to encourage it, and are encouraging it. So you're right, there could be something come through. I don't know how much they're going to be able to push it in, basically, or how prevalent it will be, but you can see that there's some form of appetite from them there to encourage it at very least.
I think it's probably as well going to be kind of market led as well. So where it benefits developers, so for Greystar, it's a huge benefit because they can get schemes online quicker and get rental income, and that's, you know, part of their business model. But for others, it might not be so beneficial. So I think that's going to be quite key, is, you know, they can make it a better option, but there's still going to be, I think, some that don't necessarily want to proceed with it, but that's fine.
Whether it fits your design as well, and all the complexities that come with it, I can completely imagine. Conscious of time, so final question, and this is going to fire back at you, Lee. Where do you see the biggest opportunity for off-site in years to come? Do you see a certain type of MMC taking preference, the way it's produced? Where would you put your money?
I think you know, it's clearing those barriers to entry. So I think it's developers such as ourselves, people learning from the experiences that we've had, you know, sharing those experiences. We're still quite a closed shop as a construction industry in this country, you know, sharing experiences and people learning from those. You know, there's more of it these days, but there could be more. So I think the opportunities will really come from there being more providers of different forms of MMC, not just, like I say, not just the volumetric modular that we've experienced. And that those consultants and organisations that, and you know, an organisation such as Build Off Site, you know, are really promoting the, you know, going further than maybe we have at the moment, and trying to break down those perceptions, which are still prevalent of the challenges of managing and having to deal with a modular form of construction. Particularly, you know, does it rule out the ability to make changes? You have to, you know, your design has to be finished that much more quickly. There's no flexibility, you know, trying to, yes, there's a degree of things in there, like I said earlier on, they have to be managed. But I think it's, you know, the opportunity will come from us sharing those experiences more widely than maybe has been done today. And we, you know, we see it in only, you know, even in the last 2 years, there are many more players coming into that manufacturing space now in the UK. There's a lot more investment into those organisations. So I think, you know, give it another 5-10 years, and like Paul said in the article, I think we could clearly see ourselves, certainly in a residential market, you know, seeing up to 20% of residential projects, which, you know, hopefully, you know, we'll see happen, being delivered via an MMC route.
Great, full of positivity. No, it's interesting, and I'm glad that you finished sort of on a point of collaboration and sort of information and data sharing, to help us get their work together to see it take off. Great, thank you for that. Thank you for joining us and taking your time. Thanks to Paul and Isabel as well, and feedback always appreciated. For those who have checked in and who are listening, thanks for doing so, and I hope you join us again next week for our next episode. Thanks, guys.
Bye.